so-and-so isn't black, or, you know, or they'll put weird parody names, like they'll use certain slurs and mix it with the character's name. So those are always things. So
what's the black version of?
well, exactly. You're never just Sailor Moon, you're black version of Sailor Moon, right, or something like that, or something Moon, you know, things like that. And for me, that's not stopped me from cosplaying, but it made me what I like to call cosplay in stealth. So I would cosplay, when I first started, I would cosplay characters that were ambiguous, like things that you couldn't tell if they were black or not black, or just like themes like Lolita or things like that, because I didn't want that negative backlash to come to me. I didn't want to put my picture out there and someone say, "Oh, you're too dark to do this," or whatever. But little by little, I became a little bit more bolder, so I started doing a little bit more characters who were not traditionally black. And that's great, but deep down I'm always like waiting for that one picture to hit, like the Maleficent picture, because I love Maleficent. Maleficent, she's not traditionally black, but she is a beautiful character. She has a beautiful story, and I love her aesthetic. Her dress, the staff, the horns, everything is beautiful. And when I did her, I used my natural hair. I didn't flatten my hair. I didn't use a wig or cover it. I just went full on me. And to me, that was a statement, because she doesn't have afro hair. So, but in the back of my mind, because the picture's starting to get a lot of buzz, I'm waiting in a weird way for that one person to come out and say something, because that's just the reality a black cosplayer lives with.
Yeah, that's true. There'll always be keyboard gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
There'll always be. No matter what you do. That's why you shouldn't let it stop you when it comes to cosplaying. There are times where I have cosplayed traditionally white characters, or monsters, or black characters, but and then of course I use my natural skin, because that's what you're supposed to do. It's just a costume. And there have been times where it's like, oh well, you can't be Wonder Woman. It's like, you don't pay my bills. It's like, you take me to Sephora and then we'll talk. No, I don't think so. No, not here. Exactly, but it's one of those things where it's like, when you're out there and you're out in the open, especially at conventions, but also with social media as well, it can get a little bit hard. You can get that backlash, because sometimes, they call you Black Sailor Moon or Black Wonder Woman or Black.
If they even recognize you, sometimes they just ignore you.
Yeah, that's also true, exactly. But that, hello, who usually cosplays Black Superman.
It's not Black Superman.
It's exactly. But the thing is, when you are out there and you're cosplaying, you're just Superman. You're just Wonder Woman. You're just Sailor Moon. You are those characters. You are portraying that character. And that's all there is to it. Don't let anybody stop you from cosplaying whatever you want. If you want to walk out there like I do in blue makeup, you walk out there in blue makeup. Simple as that. Go girl.
Well, for me, race was one of the mental issues or deterrents that kind of faced me early on when I was thinking about getting into cosplay. Like, of course, the character I want to portray, Link, is traditionally blonde hair, blue-eyed, and of course, a lot of people really stick to, accuracy and detail and the amount of detail in terms of, bringing the character up and whatnot. And I've seen, this was early on when I saw very rarely any cosplayers of color, that, or black cosplayers, I guess specifically, that were really stepping out there as like different characters, or as opposed to characters, that were similar in tone with them. So I guess when I was coming out with Hood Link, it was meant to be for laughs. It was meant to be tongue in cheek, but at the same time, I really, like I said, put a lot of detail into it, into making it my own interpretation of Link. And they were and it got a lot of a great reception, but it was always in the back of my head whether or not, if I tried to portray Link as he traditionally is, whereas if I had, instead of black dreadlocks, I would have blonde hair and whatnot, and if I had blue contacts or something like that, would there be people pointing that out? And of course, online, I see pretty much a huge swath of comments and whatnot, and people judging it, particularly because of the color of somebody's skin, that they have these cosplayers out and everything. It's just like, it's good, but, or it's just like, you look good for a black so-and-so, or and little backhanded compliments or to outright insults like that. which shows like how much of a different scale somebody sees cosplaying as opposed to costuming. And so sometimes that's kind of, you know, made me think more about like the different characters that come out. But the more I see different black cosplayers doing what I'm doing and whatnot, and doing it better, I get more encouraged by that. Although the only time that I faced, I guess, like one direct kind of slight toward my costume is the times that I would go to conventions and I would be called, you know, Gangsta Link, and even Black Link is not even like that big of a deal because of the fact that this is an urban portrayal of Link, and it's meant to be sort of tongue in cheek, but I expect it. But sometimes when I get told, oh, I'm the character Dark Link, which is an actual character on Legend of Zelda, which is a shadow counterpart to Link, pretty much as Link, except he's pitch black, everywhere, red eyes. But the problem with that is, yes, the problem with that is that I'm clearly not trying to be Dark Link, because Dark Link wears a black uniform, black tunic, black hat, and everything like that, and also has black skin and white hair. I'm clearly not that. I just happen to have darker skin. So by saying that, you're automatically assuming that because I'm black, I'm automatically that character. And I remember calling somebody out on that, and they instantly apologized and whatnot. But it was a couple of those responses that I would see that even though it wasn't meant in malice, it's still the type of reception that you get. And I've seen it with other people that try to portray Link that were of color. So it's always going to be that issue in cosplaying. But the more and more I see black cosplayers that are stepping out there and really owning the characters that they're with, even if they're doing it traditionally or if it's their own, you know, if their own spin on it, or their own cultural spin on it. It's really more heartening to see that more and more people are stepping out there, regardless of what people say, and just embracing the characters that they're portraying.
Mm-hmm. So I think we've kind of touched base on this, but I want to specifically get y'all to nail, what is it that you get out of being a cosplayer? I mean, how does the interactions that you deal with outside of not just the cosplay community, but the communities in general that you interact with, what does that do for you? And explain, you know, like the fact that you go speak with children at the hospitals. You know, give me some ideas of how that works for you.
Well, usually if I go to a hospital or if I'm doing a birthday party and I'm going specifically to see children, I'm usually Princess Tiana. And to see a little girl's face light up and say, it's Princess Tiana, and for her, Princess Tiana has come alive and has come out of the book or out of the movie for her. To see their eyes light up and have that experience, to get to meet their hero, it's very special to me. Being able to actually do a princess from Disney that looks like me is special to me, because growing up I didn't have a Disney princess that looked like me. So these little girls who are growing up with it being their norm but still getting to meet her, it's exciting to me. Sometimes they may not be able to go to Disneyland or Disney World ever in their lifetime, but they've gotten to meet their hero. And I have challenges with that. You get the older children who are too smart for their own good. They have to ruin the magic for everybody. And, well, you're not really her. Your dress doesn't look like hers. I used to have a dress because I was copyright issues, wasn't trying to look exactly like her, but I was Princess Tiana. So one little boy who was about 10 said, you're not really Princess Tiana. I said, yes, I am. He says, well, no, you're not, because your dress doesn't look the same. And I said, does your mother walk around the house in her wedding dress? And he said, no. I said, well, the dress at the end of the movie was my wedding dress. It's hidden away so it can stay safe. I wouldn't wear my wedding dress everywhere. And he said, oh. And after that, he just kind of left me. He just kind of looked at me. And usually because I'm wearing a big ball gown, then all the kids say, well, let me see your shoes, because they think you better be wearing tennis shoes because it's a big dress. And I lift them, and they're all sparkling. And they're like, she's wearing princess shoes. So giving children back that element of make-believe that becomes real for them, and that element of magic again that they've lost because the world in reality is so harsh. It's nice to see. It's nice to see those smiles and to see that element of make-believe and imagination come back into their eyes.
Right? Like, what I get out of cosplay is, one, an outlet for all of my creativity. So I get to make great things like my props and everything like that. And another thing, the second thing I get out of cosplay is, in my day-to-day life, I'm very introverted. I'm very, like, keep to myself kind of thing. So sometimes to people who don't understand me, they may think I'm standoffish or I don't really talk and things like that. So it kind of, it almost like makes a barrier between me and people who I don't know. So it's almost like hard for me to meet people because they already have a preconceived notion that I might be standoffish or I don't want to talk. But what I love about the cosplay community, which is, you know, what I get from it, is like, I can be nerdy or I can say a silly reference or a joke, and next thing you know, someone down the hall might chime in or join in on the conversation or something like that, and it's like, oh, like, we connect, like, this is awesome. And that is just because there is nothing like going through a hall, like people waiting for a panel, you start a chant somewhere and then you can hear everyone just like resonating, just saying, just singing along with the words, something like that. Like for example, like if you're a wrestling fan, people will start being like, someone will be like, let's go Cena, and then like down the street, someone like, Cena sucks! It's like, it's like, bro, you're not even here, but it's like the fact that you can do things like that, and people totally like chime in, it's like, it's like hilarious. And like, I get that, I love that what I get is, or what I try to give back to cosplay is that I can be a representation of black cosplayers. I can say to either kids or to people who want to get into it that like, hey, you don't need to necessarily be a certain race or a certain weight or a certain height or whatever to do what you do. You can just go out and do it and people will recognize you for it. Like, because Lady Deadpool, technically she's Canadian, blonde and blue-eyed, and I'm not blonde or blue-eyed or Canadian. Would like for free healthcare, but you know, I'm not Canadian.